Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Disruptive Marketer. I'm Jeffrey Colon, your host from Microsoft. So, watched the Apple event today. Very interesting. I mean, of course, I'm a fan of the products. I wouldn't be shooting a video using an iPhone 6 currently and editing it on iMovie if I weren't. But it got me thinking, there is much of a design flaw in how a lot of these events are presented to the public at large. If we look at how everyone is sitting in almost this large arena and oohing and awing about how wonderful everything is, it makes you almost wonder, is there another way that we can design some of those experiences, not just around where tech is moving, but also around a number of the other events in the world? Could it change maybe how we educate people, how politicians speak to audiences, etc.? There's a tendency of a person or a group of people to stand in front of everyone and, of course, dictate about how wonderful the technology is that they've created and are unleashing on the masses. Most of the demos are flawless, and of course, if we really look at human behavior, that's not really how things work. I mean, I have to reboot my computer probably 2 or 3 times per day, turn off my phone once a day for updates. Things like that happen, and we're used to some of those flaws. In fact, there was a term that the Trend Report used back in 2002. They called it flawsome. How do you show a human side to your company, your especially in technology, which we know has flaws? It actually allows, I think, companies to maybe connect a little bit better with their core audience as well as people they're trying to reach. So there were a number of other things I noticed as well in terms of I went to go stream the event live. I happened to open up Firefox and realized I needed Safari or Windows 10 with Edge. So of course, if you're on an Android device, you're out of luck, which is interesting considering there's usually a meritocratic feel in the tech world to want to get as many people into your own tent. So that felt like a non-customer centric experience, so to speak. And then of course, in terms of collaboration that we have with development of new products, there doesn't seem to be any place for that in much of the tech world. I mean, we have a number of people who I think live and work and think that they know best. Yet users and customers actually might know a little bit more because they're actually engaged with the technology on a given basis. And there's a tendency of lumping us into these buckets. Either we are a consumer, or we're a creative, or we're a developer. But we wear many hats. And of course, personalization, I think, is going to bring more and more of that out, with the fact that the world is much more complex and dynamic as a result. Yet communications design hasn't caught up to really sort of, I think, communicate where the world is, how it can be more collaborative, how it can take customer feedback, how it can involve customers in Q&As in many of these events. There seems to be a very read-only dictation at many of these events where what the person says goes, and there's no way for people to really sort of objectively ask questions. And in a world where we now are all media and have that ability to ask many of those questions, what happens to many of the people questioning things about what companies are doing? Are companies simply ignoring those? Are they going to use those in new strategies, in new development? A lot remains to be seen, but we need to learn this one sort of moral to our story, which I learned from a great mentor of mine, David Brooks, who works at Ogilvy and Mather. What tech giveth, tech taketh away. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the Disruptive Marketer. Talk to me on Twitter at DJGeoffe, and of course, follow me on LinkedIn. Speak to you next week.